licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with the VeVe, OMI. Well, actually, no, this is OMI Homie episode number 55 with my co-host Dr. Stuff and Crypto Rain will be here at some point. Misinformation corrections, VeVe new IP, speculation on whether OMI will be discussed at Lisbon and all other stuff. Everyone say hello to Dachi. Hello, Dachi. Oh, commenting, liking, subscribing is a free way to help support the channel. And let's say hello to Crypto Rain. Right on time, senor.
What's up, everyone?
What's up, Rain?
I was taking a look at the TikTok before I came on here, and there's this episode. It's a video. It's an episodic thing that AI is now trying to replicate its code, and when it's told it's going to be taken offline, it tries to dig for dirt on the creators, like emails, to try to blackmail it. Bro, it's wild. That and the new Google VO3 is so good that it is anyone that's age like 50 and above like can't tell the difference. And if you're just not in like the tech world, or if you're not in the normal world, like even if you're 30, you're just, and you're just not looking at these videos, it's really hard to tell the difference. I tell just based on the eyes and based on how bad the acting is, but outside of that, have you guys seen it?
No, but the acting's going to get better. So Tom Cruise, I'm sorry, but like AI is going to replace you.
Yeah, I mean,
no one can replace Tom Cruise. Not with his running. In all of his movies, he's running. That's like a thing. So it's like Brad Pitt. He's always eating food. Tom Cruise is always running. That'll never be replicated.
So that's been my theory there. That we are in the simulation, and we have the AI. That's, I don't know. It's crazy stuff happening. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, we built a simulation within a simulation,
and it's about to take us over.
Yes.
We have so a lot of stuff on the docket today. Talking about MEXC, what it might take to get more volume, higher daily users, the Genius Act. Let's go like the universe and like humanity. Let's start outward and work our way inward. And let's start with the macro and see, I guess, something that has passed would be the Stablecoin bill, the Genius Act, or that advanced through the Senate. What would that potentially mean for as far as money going into crypto, as far as money markets on the side? Can there be less manipulation, or is there more now? Doc, start with you. What are your thoughts on
it? Well, it's going to depend on what actually comes to pass with the bill, right? So we're going to have to wait and see. But it's great that they're starting to put some sort of framework around it. So it's passed the Senate. The House has their own bill. I think it's called the Stable Act that they're working through, and they haven't passed it yet. But what's going to have to happen is you're going to have the Genius Act, the Stable Act, and they're going to look at those things combined, and they're going to say, do we need to add and take away? And then they'll hopefully work together and create a bill that then they can send to the president for him to sign, right, to pass into law. But I think it's happening, right? So it's just a matter of time. And there are some things as to like what is actually put in the bill. And I think some of the things that we're going to see is more likely than not, they're not going to allow for algorithmic stablecoins or for large institutions to hold those.
What does that mean?
What part?
Large algorithmic stablecoins. How do they differ from USDC, USDT? And is that part of the reason why USDT was banned in the UK? Can you just go over some of that for us?
Yeah. So I'll tell you about a stablecoin. I don't know. Have you guys heard of Athena?
No.
Yes, but I think it's is it the AI bill that we're
no?
Or the
no,
AI
Athena is a stablecoin. Well, it's a company that's created a stablecoin. Athena, ETHENA. I'm doing some research on it right now for work. But anyways, basically what it is it's an algorithmic stablecoin, and it's got a pretty large market cap. I think the last time I checked, it was like a $6 billion market cap. They're offering some pretty high yields to stake, right? But what it is so an algorithmic stablecoin is a stablecoin the whole intent of a stable coin is to be pegged to $1, right? One of the stable coins equals $1. And if you guys remember Terra Luna, right, UST, and that whole situation, that was also an algorithmic stablecoin that was tied to Luna, and it was supposedly backed also by Bitcoin. So what Athena does though is the majority of its like collateral or what's backing it is actually BlackRock's. What's BlackRock's treasury stablecoin? I just blinked out on what that's called. But anyways, BlackRock's stablecoin, which is backed by treasuries, but then about like 20 to 30% of it is backed by Bitcoin and Ether. The problem is that Bitcoin and Ether's price is volatile, right?
Mm-hmm. So
what's going to happen is the way the algorithm is set up is if Bitcoin increases in price, that's great, right? Then they have some extra reserves. If it dips in price, what they've done with those reserves is they purchased short positions to say, now if Bitcoin drops, right, then we're going to have a short position. And so it's trying to basically equalize to make sure that Bitcoin in that volatility, it stops the volatility by having long and short positions equal each other so that the Bitcoin's price volatility doesn't matter. It sounds great in practice. There are definitely some risks with that is if it gets bigger, like the bigger it gets, you have to have someone to continue to take that other side of the short position, right? And that becomes a big problem if your market cap's like $200 billion, you know, and like who's going to take the short position big enough to hedge against that? What if it becomes $1 trillion, right? And so it'll be interesting to see. And this is why like there's a lot of volatility. And to date, there's not been a single algorithmic stablecoin that has made it, right? That's kept its peg to the dollar. And so I think that in the Genius Act or in the Stable Act or whatever comes through, my guess is going to be that institutions will not be able to mess around with algorithmic stablecoins. It produces, like there's too high of likelihood of failure, which could just destroy the system, right? But anyways, what this all means in general, though, is when financial institutions get stablecoins, there's going to be a lot of efficiencies that can happen. I just saw an announcement that I think it's like Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and another bank are creating a single stablecoin that can be used amongst those banks, which is amazing because, like, if you think about it, when you transfer money from one bank to another, it takes like a few days to kind of settle and like hit your account and stuff. Using a stablecoin, it'll settle immediately, basically. Now we have like FedNow, like I mean, like there's a lot of things right now that like real-time payment systems that are in the banking system, but not all the banks participate. And on top of that, they're still closed on the weekends. But you get into stable coins and you can basically send 24/7. Now we'll see if what comes in a law allows for that, because there are some
and how much
risks.
too. Because like you have stuff like Zelle and you have stuff like PayPal that's like instant, and they essentially
So there's
float it for
caps,
you.
right?
Yeah.
And well, the reason that there are caps on that is because of that settlement time. Because people can kite check, they can do check kiting basically, right? Where they just draw on several institutions, they keep bouncing that back and forth and things. But if you have real-time payment settlements, they might want to do that for liquidity purposes. Like where they're just like, we don't want to run on the bank or something. And so there might be a set limit that can be drawn. So yeah, we'll have to see that. There's a lot of implications just from like a financial banking side of things. But other than that, what it means for crypto is it's a big deal because stable coins are a gateway. They're a gateway, man, into the crypto world. And so as laws are passed and there's more regulatory clarity around these things, the more comfortable people start to feel about getting into these things. You know, it's so funny. I was talking to people 3 years ago about dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, you know, like, they'd hit me up and they're like, hey man, Bitcoin's doing great. Like, how do I get into this stuff? Then Bitcoin started to drop, right? And then drop some more and then drop some more. And those same people like wouldn't even talk to me anymore. You know, they're like, oh man, like how you feeling about crypto? And I'm like, great. And they're like, but it's going down. I'm like, I know. Right. And one of my best friends, I just met with him this morning. We played some tennis and he's a doctor. Okay. He's an ER doctor. He makes good money. And I was like, bro, remember how I told you the dollar cost average into Bitcoin when it was dropping at like $30,000? He's like, I know. He's like, but I want to get into it now. Just like, bro. But anyways, what's going to happen is you're going to get retail. Retail is starting to FOMO, and the more liquidity that enters the system, the higher price goes. Like that's economics, guys. And so the more stable coins there are, the more entryways into crypto, the more liquidity there is, the more price goes up. So pretty excited about that.
So if you were talking to this person, I don't know if this person was a colleague or they were a friend. I mean,
one of my best friends. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm imagining that this person is a relatively, probably above average intelligence individual.
Yeah,
and he's an ER doc, which means he had to make it through med school.
That's true. That's true.
I heard med school is easy, and
my brain derped on that moment. It just shows how low I am on this total poll. So I think that can suggest or confirm that most of retail isn't in yet, but smart money is coming in. Like that intelligence type of like, okay, they recognize that pattern, they recognize what was up. And I'm hoping that, and I don't know how much of a nudge he would need, but I'm hoping that you can guide him being like, hey, Bitcoin's still not bad to buy considering what is still yet to come. But Trump media raising like $2.5 billion to purchase their Bitcoin before the Bitcoin bill in the US goes in. So that was a genius move by them. But I would imagine that you could just nudge them a little bit and be like, oh, hey, be advised, there's these couple of other tokens that haven't run yet, blah, blah, blah. Because on my end, and I feel like I kind of tread with a lot of the commoners here, there's still, I don't want to say zero interest on Bitcoin. Well, I guess if you count negative interest, like people that just don't understand it, think it's a scam, and versus like the tiny bit of interest there is, on my end, I haven't seen really that much yet. But it's nice to know that it's starting to trickle in and that smart money will go in first. I don't know if you've had any other experiences beside your doctor friend.
Yeah. Multiple people have reached out to me, and some of them actually did buy at like 35, 30K. And I actually told one of my buddies from 2 years ago, I was telling him, I'm like, started talking to him about Bitcoin. I was at a job with him, and he didn't tell me, but like he bought, 5 figures worth of Bitcoin at like, and Bitcoin was at like 25K. And then he reached out to me like 4 months later when Bitcoin was at like, I don't know, 45,000 or something. And he was like, bro, I totally bought when you were telling me about it and stuff. And he's like, I am tripping out. This is so awesome. And he's bought and sold up along the way. Cause I told him, I was like, listen, I would not sell if I'm you, which I'm not, and I don't know your risk tolerance, but I'm like, Bitcoin's going to go over 100 grand. But before it does, like 100 grand is like a mental thing for people. Like, so I'm like, I would say that it'll probably go a little bit above 100 grand. If it hits 100 grand, I was like, I would sell, and then wait for it to drop down and then buy it at a lower price. Like I totally told it, like I called it. And anyways. So there are people that are out there that are listening at different points in time. But right now, people are starting to approach me again, and they're like, "You're into crypto now, right?" Now, most of the people I hang out with, they're pretty well-to-do, right? They definitely make more than like the average person in the state, right? By quite a bit. So yeah, if you want to call it smart money, but people who have extra funds that they can afford to lose, that are looking at sort of investments and a little bit more risky investments, sure. And I'm going to tell my friend, he's like, dude, we need to have a call. You need to talk to me about this stuff. And the thing that I'm going to tell him is that listen, I do think that Bitcoin still has some room to run. And if you really don't want a lot of risk, it's risky. Crypto is always risky, but this is probably the least risky of them. But then also with that, the lowest returns compared to some of these others, right? So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But the stablecoin stuff that's pushing through, guys, like it's a big deal, man. It's big. Yeah. True. I've been working my gymnastics. I got gymnastics tonight. Yeah. So I'm going to continue working on some stuff.
So Speaking of Bitcoin having more room to run, I don't know if anyone really goes on Polymarket. I know Rain doesn't like to go to casinos and gamble, but I feel like if he sees a sure thing, he might take a little stab at it.
Polymarkets is a really interesting thing. What I don't like about casinos is the game is rigged against you. The odds are not in your favor, and even if you do win, it's stacked in a way that it's not really proportionate to the risk.
Mhm.
So there's one of the bets on Polymarket, and there's multiple on this one question, is what might happen before the release of GTA 6, which is supposed to be 1 year from today.
Supposed to be. Yes.
Supposed to be. So people are talking about the odds are that a new Rihanna album will drop, a Russian-Ukraine ceasefire will happen. But then you scroll all the way down, and the two that really caught my eye was Bitcoin hitting $1 million before the release of GTA 6, and the possibility of Jesus Christ returning. And they're both at 13%. They're both at 13%.
That's so funny. At
That is
13%.
funny, man.
Wow.
And Jesus Christ has the 464,000 in volume on it, where Bitcoin hitting 1 million only has 87,000 in volume on it. How often are the people correct, and how often would you take this bet of Bitcoin hitting $1 million before the release of GTA 6, given that it may or may not release in 1 year from now?
I wouldn't take that bet because I think we do have a strong chance of a super cycle. But even if we do have a super cycle, going to 1 million this run is a massive super cycle. That is like, boy, we're all going to be so rich if that happens. Like, take what we thought the altcoins would do, or the bullish scenario of what the altcoins could do, times that by 5 or 10 is what would happen if Bitcoin hit $1 million this cycle. So it's like, in that extra 5 or 10x, huge difference in what your altcoins end up doing if you've been buying cheap the last few years.
I mean, for Bitcoin to hit $1 million, you would have to have the majority of like tier 1 countries having Bitcoin reserves. It would take nation state money to bring Bitcoin to $1 million of Bitcoin, right? And I just don't think that it's happening. It's not happening in a year, man. Like, to me, like, I would take the bet against that. Honestly, I'd be like, now, I would love for that to happen because, like Rain said, I mean, the trickle down effects to all of the other altcoins would be insane, right? Like, insane, right? The multiples that we get there, but I don't see that happening. But that is funny. Yeah, I don't think Bitcoin hits $1 million anytime soon. That's just me. But
in that environment, OMI's market
great.
In that environment, OMI's market cap could go to like 200 billion in that type of environment.
I would take that.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be sell time. If that happens, it is take profits, thank your lucky stars, pray and thank God, and put it to the side, because what does go up like that does come down.
So there are a couple of things, like obviously nation states are getting in, but there's a couple of littler things that are happening that just helps things along the way. For example, FTX on May 30th will be going on and giving out another $5 billion to the creditors. So there is going to be some found money with people. I feel like a fair amount of these people will just, hey, I found money, they'll spend it. They might cash out and spend it on normal stuff, or they might go in and put it into projects that are running, might start a meme craze. Just your thoughts on what might happen based off of an extra 5 billion of liquidity being injected. And it might not be 5 billion again. Some people will just cash out, but just your thoughts.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I think a lot of that's in stable coins, right? They'll be getting the value in USDT.
Yes.
Curious to see what happens. I don't know, but probably some buying of crypto. Where we are in this cycle, like people that had money in FTX, they're getting reinterested again, and they're seeing the trajectory. So some of that might go into like some of the large caps, some of the blue chips, some into Bitcoin, and some into the riskier stuff like what I'm in, but only the really educated.
Listen, I think that because FTX did a $7 billion distribution back in like February, right? And I totally believe that some of that money went into crypto and helped kind of with some of this pump that we've had. I'm sure that they were kind of they got the money and then they were looking and they're like, okay, like what's going on? And they waited for that price to drop to like what did it drop down to? 80, 85K? Like what did
Bitcoin 74.
74K, right? At that point, listen, these people are OGs, right? People who had money. I mean, well, some of them at least are OGs. And like, I think as they've seen, they were forced to keep their eye on the markets, right? Like to say like, hey, what's happening here? And so I think that they saw just like Bitcoin jumping and they're like, this is just like last cycle. And so I believe that 7 billion, some of that definitely came back into the system. And I think that this 5 billion, a decent amount of that, but I agree with Rain that the majority of that's probably going to go into the larger alts. And because they want some return, but maybe they're just like, they've got to hedge their bets this time around.
And they're also, and there's recency bias though, right? Yes. So the truth is like XRP, XLM, and a bunch have gone up 5x from what they were like last year. And Bitcoin's gone up like 5 to 8x from what it was at the lows. And so they're just going to see that as safer and they're going to feel kind of like risk averse with these funds. So I think a lot of it's going to go into that. And like the savages will be like, F no, I'm getting these altcoins at bear market bottoms, but most of it money won't go there. Not yet. Later in the cycle, there'll be a cascade into well-researched, like strong, fundamentally strong projects like OMI and some of the other ones that I've been following. It will cascade into those later. And I'm content to wait for that because when that happens, the multiples are multipliers that like most people have never experienced in their life. It's quite crazy. I mean, you hit a 300x and you just can't believe it. You're just like, why didn't I put 10 times more money into that? Holy cow.
That what if gets you. Speaking of what if, we're going to play a little Marvel here and we'll talk about playing the dominoes out and seeing what would happen. Because like right now, you do have some guidance from both the crypto czar and both Secretary of Defense saying like, hey, we want the SEC doing X, Y, and Z and not, what 1, 2, and 3. And there is some guidance that seems to say, hey, there's NFTs are generally collectibles and they're not under what the SEC would consider that securities. But none of the legislation is really passed yet. And same thing with a lot of cryptos out there, like specifically OMI. I hear a lot of people saying, and I completely understand, hey, now why not do a land sale? Why not do buybacks? Why not do X, Y, and Z? That it looks like the SEC is dropping all these lawsuits. And then you just have recently at the SEC, Hester Pierce and her comments about NFTs and what wouldn't be considered security. And again, people asking for VeVe and OMI to do these things that would potentially make it in a security under the old guidelines or under the current guidelines because new regulatory stuff hasn't passed yet. So Doc, I just want to start with you about that.
Yeah, there was a while ago where I was kind of in debates with a certain individual. First they posted about OMI being a security, and then they were trying to say that the NFTs are securities, and it was just a general attack on VeVe and OMI, right? From a very well articulated individual, right? And it's interesting because a lot of times people they think to themselves, and this is just human nature. Hey, if someone is well spoken, what they're saying must be true, right? And I'm like, well, you got to dig into what the meat of what they're saying is, and you got to question that. And so I did, right? And I dug into it, and we had some debates back and forth and stuff before I was just like, listen, like I'm right, I'm right, and you're wrong, and I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? And this is starting to show now. Where first of all, SEC never did prohibit NFT royalties, but there was some questions around, based on the efforts of others or something like that. So what Hester Pierce said, right? That an NFT that sends royalties back to the creator after a sale is not a security. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Just as streaming platforms pay royalties to the creator of a song or video each time a user plays it, an NFT can enable artists to benefit from the appreciation in the value of their work after its initial sale. So, like, what I liked about what she said is because there was some questions as to whether or not certain NFTs were going to be securities, right? And this kind of cleared it up that just because there's royalties off the sale again of that from the creator does not mean it's a security. That's huge, right? That really incentivizes all of these major IPs. They can take a big breath now and just be like, okay, we're totally in the clear. Obviously, they felt good enough in the clear that they were participating anyways, but now they can go more full-fledged. Here's the question, though, that I think that we still need more clarity on, guys, is if you do airdrops, that appears to be based on the efforts of others. And so now, listen, because it's free, though, because it's a free airdrop, and then there could be market that basically says, hey, because there might be an airdrop and people are like, we don't want that and it's worth nothing. But they're just like, hey, just for collecting this, you get this, right? It's still a little bit of a question mark. Now, I would say I think that they're fine. Personally, I think that they are fine and that they could do unannounced airdrops there. But once they get that clarity, you better believe that I'm going to start saying, you guys should be doing this. I mean, this is a collector's app and things, and that happens all the time with collections. Like we've seen this in the space so many times where it's just like, listen, for holding this. And on top of that, we have Bored Ape Yacht Club, who has done significant monetary airdrops through their, Bored Ape Dog, or Kennel Club, like all of the airdrops that they had. And the SEC never went after them after that.
Right? Pengu, the same thing.
Exactly. So I think that they are in the clear. And I think that they should be doing it. Because how rewarding is that? Like, you want to talk about like the fan base getting so stoked on things and just being like, listen, just because I own this, because I'm a fan of it, like I get this extra reward for things. I look at the bat cows, right? And like, just for having a bat cow, I freaking got like, I got multiple comic books. Like there was a lot that I got just from being a collector because I love that stuff. And they drove a lot of fandom from that. So I think IPs would get a lot more of a fan base overall, and people would be interested in buying their stuff. Because listen, even if you want to look at it from an economic standpoint, they could do a test run, right? And they say, okay, if we do an unannounced airdrop on one of our collectibles, right? And it's pretty scarce because there's not a lot of people who hold this set or whatever. And then people are like, oh my gosh, this company is starting to do airdrops, unannounced airdrops. How many sets of the things do you think that people are going to start buying of that? So then how much money do they make compared to the cost of what it took just to make that NFT airdrop? It doesn't cost a ton of money to do something like that, right? So, I mean, I think that they would easily be able to do a test run, and you better believe that people are going to start being like, do I want to hold the first set of Batman, season 1 Batman, because like I'm gonna like there's an airdrop, there's a potential, even just the potential for an airdrop is going to cause them to do that. So I think that they should start doing it. We've already had so many examples in Web3 of companies with NFTs that have done airdrops that have added a lot of monetary value to their community. And I think with Hester Purse saying all this stuff where NFTs in general with the royalty sales aren't NFTs, I think that they're golden.
Agreed. What about you, Rain? What do you think about the not just the ask, I guess the people asking for it? Is this something that, hey, other companies are doing it, we should expect it as well? Or is it like the, hey, asking for something for nothing is kind of asking a lot of these major IPs?
It's not something for nothing because they make money every time it changes hands. So it's a win-win doing airdrops like this. It's a huge win because it is going to drive way more buying. It just taps into the human psychology of we hate missing out. And so there's this economics law. So I love two things in this life tremendously, which is economics and the psychology of human behavior. And I especially love where they intersect, which is right where crypto is and the behavior with it, right? And collecting is there too. And so there's this law of unexpected rewards, or I think that like The reason why gambling works so well at casinos is because there's unexpected rewards. Like you don't know when it's going to be. So I'm getting the name of the thing wrong, but like unanticipated rewards or something. I don't know. But like if you want to train certain behavior, you get inconsistent. The law of inconsistent rewards is what it's called. And so when all of a sudden you reward something, there was no announcement of it. All of a sudden there's a reward. They're like, oh, so people start looking for patterns and they start speculating and they start putting together all kinds of sets, which creates further buying. Oh my gosh, that was a DC set. So let me start buying all these other DC sets. Oh, that was a Marvel set. Let me start buying all these other Marvel sets. So in that environment, VeVe makes more. Marvel, there are different licensors make more. Makes amazing sense, right? Like absolutely. And we have seen that from back-cows, and it was great. Now we've been in a bear market. Like crypto has created a really weird thing that there's mass wave of adoption, which we saw in 2021 and early 2022. Then it's fallen and tapered off. We're going to see a bigger wave of adoption coming up, and they start doing that in that type of environment. The amount of collecting that's going to be going on of existing sets will go gangbusters in that environment.
So, and I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in again. Like Randy, you look at how much money Bored Ape Yacht Club made off of those airdrops. So they gave them for free, right? And yet they made so much money off of it. And Randy, I'm wondering if you're talking about like the psychology of unpredictable rewards, basically, is what it is. And like, there's a ton of studies out there that basically talk about like, if you want a behavior to continue to happen, you give unexpected rewards to people, because then like they love that. And it is part of like the gambling, right? You don't know when it's going to happen, but you believe it's going to happen at some point, and you might be the person to get that. And so it drives this behavior, right? So listen, I know that VeVe at the end of the day is a business, and they're getting 2.5% of these sales and stuff. And like, for me, it's a no-brainer for them to do this. And especially if you can start doing it on some of this major IP for some special things that the IP could drop, right? And truly reward the collectors. And I say that because they've already spent, I don't like this something for nothing, because first and foremost, they're rewarding people who are fans of their IP who've already spent money on something. So it's not something for nothing, like, because they're not giving it to someone who's done nothing for them. They're giving it to someone who's already spent money and they've made money from this customer, right? And then they start doing this unexpected reward thing, and then people are like, oh my gosh, like this is huge, right? They can't do it all the time. They better not do it all the time, because then it loses its luster. It's got to be very random.
It's no longer inconsistent. So specifically, it's called the law of inconsistent rewards. And if you do it consistently, then it's not inconsistent. So then everyone anticipates it, where it's the inconsistency that works. And this is how they train dogs, with inconsistent rewards. This is how you train humans. If you learn this principle really good, your marriage will improve. Your wife is doing this to you if she's smart, and you're loving the benefits of it. You're smart if you do this to her. If you bring her flowers every day, it totally loses its effect. If you bring her flowers every once in a while as a special thank you for good stuff, but it's inconsistent, the impact is greatly magnified. And especially as a reward for something sweet she did to you, your marriage gets better. So it's a huge principle of human psychology that the better we understand, our lives get better. And the better businesses understand this, like the really big businesses totally get this. I hope VeVe gets this, because it will make collecting more fun for those that are collecting. So not only will they spend more money, it will be more fun for them. So there's no lose here. Now, I love the good old days when I knew that somebody with an absolute decision-making seat at the table from VeVe was watching our podcast, Ben Rose, because then he would get to hear this and he could take it right into the discussions. Now, maybe they're already discussing this. I know Randy speaks to David sometimes. This is a big principle that, man, if they do something like this in the middle of the bull run, and it takes a while to set this up with the licensors, they have to be starting the conversations now, so that by the time things are augmenting, or even before they augmenting, it will help kick off more collecting before the bull run even starts. it would be a great thing for them to do.
One of the other things someone was talking about in one of the Telegram groups was marketing. And the OMI hasn't really done a ton of that. And they're talking about OMI at Lisbon, and we'll get into that. So FPS over here, aka Fred's painting service. We got about 55,000 followers over on the Instagram. Was on the podcast before, and they were thankful that the VeVe affiliate program had reached out to them. So we do have a couple of those, more than one of those types of people getting onboarded, which is great. Multiple of his videos have like hundreds of millions of views, and I think one of those or a couple of those guys getting together, they can go on and onboard like thousands for us. So my question is, as far as marketing, what would be the right way to go about it? I mean, they can't like sit on the sidelines forever. They have to do it at some point. Is now the right time? I don't know. I'd probably have to wait a little bit longer, but they're at Lisbon, at least a OMI stacker VeVe is the right way to do it. Sprinkle a little bit of marketing everywhere. Is it been to do just one thing that's been proven, or just to go with influencers? What do you think the best bang for the buck is?
Marketing's a risk, right? So one of the projects that I bought and had been holding, Mel listened to their community and decided to do a bunch of marketing because their community was demanding it. And they burned through their cash and they closed their shop 2 months ago because they'd burned through all their cash, because their community wanted them to market and they wanted to show their community that they cared. And so I don't think crypto companies should be doing any marketing right now unless the marketing is generating more revenues immediately than the money going out the door. And that's not going to be the case for most crypto companies. So now in the middle of a bull run, when things are already going crazy, putting some gasoline on that fire, that is not a bad idea. But like, people assume that VeVe should be doing marketing. I don't think VeVe needs to do any marketing. If they do, wait till the bull run is happening, because their affiliate program is going to take care of a lot of that for them. And essentially it is marketing. It's indirect marketing, and that they only pay for what they get, which is an amazing situation. So there's no risk to them. And as more people are thinking about crypto, they're going to have more of these people that they reach out to be very interested in showcasing VeVe stuff, because they'll be able to see the revenues they can get, and that will compound and then cascade. And what did VeVe get? Well, they're just actually paying out a percentage of revenues that they are getting. So it's a very safe place for them. So they're doing marketing the smart way. The dumb way is, oh my gosh, let me go burn a whole bunch of money so people can say we're doing marketing. And oh my gosh, we spent $100 million and we got like 2,000 new users who don't use the app every day. That's what can happen in this environment.
What about you, Doc? Any additional thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I think the best time to start using marketing is when the token price is starting to catch fire. Like, and so that's going to be when altcoins start running. And as OMI starts to rise in price, people start paying more attention to it, right? And then you can get some of your affiliates and things to start posting things. And as, I mean, I think it's pretty clear now, like, again, with Hester Peirce's words, she is the head of the crypto task force at the SEC, right? The SEC, the organization who's going to go after entities and companies that are selling or, like unregistered securities. And she's at the head of this crypto task force, and she is talking about utility tokens, right? And if they're providing this utility, that basically they're not securities either. OMI is a utility token. So I think the VeVe is in the clear. Now, again, there's still no law, and that's important, right? There is no law that says that, but you have the head of the SEC who's basically already come out and said, well, these are my thoughts on this. She's the head of the crypto task force. She's helping create this, and she's going to be making a lot of recommendations of what the enforcements look like as laws get passed. But anyways, so this is where I think that they'll be able to talk a lot more about the utility of the token. And she even says, if there's a utility there, regardless if people are buying the token based on speculation that the price will go up in value. That is very important that she had stated it like that, right? That these utility tokens, and they can demonstrate that OMI is absolutely a utility token meant to be used a lot in their ecosystem, and people can speculate on that price. So as the price of OMI goes up, there's going to be a lot of eyes that start going towards that. And then they can be pointing and saying, okay, like what are people buying? Like OMI, okay, what is it? And they're buying. You can use OMI to buy this, or you can speculate on the price action. You can do all of these things. That's when I think that they need to be pounding pavement hard with marketing at that point. And I do think that you should be getting some pretty important crypto YouTubers to just be talking about OMI and the utility and the VeVe app, and then get them into the affiliate program that way, right? So they might pay and say, like, listen, we'll pay you some, but really where the most of your money is going to come from is through the affiliate program if you hit it hard, right? Like, yeah, but I definitely think that you're going to need to wait until there's a reason for people to pay attention to OMI.
Yeah.
So speaking about that of marketing, speculation on whether OMI will be more publicly discussed at NFC Lisbon. I did interview WC3NTE, who's the Stacker community manager, and he's going there as an employee. So it seems that there's going to be at least some focus on the OMI utility there. But yeah, what are the rest of your thoughts on them?
So Vicente, right? You keep saying like W3.
That's how you spell it, but yeah, Vicente, I guess, is how you would pronounce
Vicente.
it.
Yeah, because I met him in person, and that's what he said. Now I'm still probably pronouncing it wrong, but it's some like German plumbing company or something like that is where he pulled it from. But I really hope that I mean, listen, Stacker and VeVe are sharing a booth, so obviously there's going to be some talk there. But I am a little bit surprised that we are not seeing more active talk from David Yu, especially since Ben Rose left. Active talk from David Yu about the OMI token and how they're going to be doing this. Like, I don't get it. And this is someone who knows quite a bit about the regulatory side of things in crypto, and how I've been preaching caution for quite some time. I don't get. So I am hoping that leading up to this, right? Like it should be leading up. You should be building up to this. It shouldn't just be like, well, we're going to have someone there at the booth and they're going to talk about it. Talk about how we're going to have someone at the booth. Be talking about that. Be saying, hey, we've got this utility token, like to the crypto world, right? They're mega whales who are coming to this conference. Mega whales. Like CryptoPunk owners, right? Who hold multiple CryptoPunks are going to be at this event and things. And, so I'm going to say, like, and you know, it's funny, I get called a moon boy all the time, and I'm like, I don't care less, but I feel like I try to shoot straight, and there's some times where I'm like, hey, we need to hold off. I am surprised that there has not been more talk from David Yu about the OMI token leading up to this conference, especially if Stacker is going to be there, and they're going to be talking about how you can buy on this. I mean, the whole purpose of Stacker is to be able to use the OMI token, because you couldn't do it in the app. So why aren't you talking about it? I'd love to know.
Rain, thoughts?
I'm out. I'm selling all my OMI because David Yu isn't talking about it enough. Definitely selling all my OMI. Like sometimes it can be frustrating as we feel like we're sitting here waiting for OMI to go up. It's like, oh my gosh, would they just do all these things? Would they talk about it? It's like, yes, actually, it would be nice, like Dr. Seth is saying, because I think there's plenty of story there. There's plenty to be talking about. And it, you know, just regular people, we get concerned that's like, hey, how committed are they to their token? Because when you hold a token, you're not holding a piece of that company. You hold something that's loosely affiliated with that company. So there's some risk there. And because it's so risky, it's a good and bad thing. It's a good thing because the value can decrease so much during a bear market. And it's a good thing because it can then swing so high from what the lows are because people FOMO into it. So what makes it special is the volatility and the chance for gains. But at the same time, you're not holding something that's as good as stock, but you are holding something that can be way more volatile. And if you're trading it well, can change your life far more than stock can. But you want to know, how strong is the company backing this? Because if all of a sudden they're like, yeah, thanks for helping us raise the funds to get the company started, but we're going to do nothing to support OMI and we're never going to talk about it again, then it would really tank the value. And so that's the concern that people are just trying to feel out is like, you know, are they really backing it? But clearly they are with the integration into Stacker and stuff. Would it be nice if, David, you talked about it more? It would be nice. In the meantime, like, I still think their support behind OMI is huge. And they found a way within the regulatory framework that they could integrate it. And I really like OMI to NFT is totally a thing now. Holy cow, that is such a big deal. And yet price of OMI is still near all-time lows, which is amazing because sometimes it just takes a while for like the fundamentals behind OMI are amazing. Yet price is near all-time lows. And so the fundamentals behind it are stronger than they have ever been in history. And yet you're near this 4-year low. And it's like, oh my gosh, like why? Well, just wait. Time will correct it because the pendulum does swing too far each way and it swung too far down. And as crypto goes crazy, like people are going to notice VeVe. They're going to be thinking digital everything. Oh, digital money, digital this, digital collectibles. That's so good. How do I buy some stock in VeVe? Oh, I can't. What's the crypto token associated with them? OMI. Massive money coming into OMI as people FOMO in and the price swings wildly to the upside. Just like it can swing too far to the downside, and it has. It's going to swing too far to the upside. Now, will that go to a $200 billion market cap? Geez, that would be amazing. I wouldn't plan on that because the likelihood on that is low, but it could happen. So, I'd take profits on the way up. Am I going to be holding much OMI? Maybe I'll still keep 10 million so I can get those MCP rewards because, damn it, that was such a good idea on their part. They're like, normally I would have sold all my OMI, but then they put this thing about getting MCP points if you hold 10 million. So I might end up selling like all but my 10 million. And then I'll just buy it back when it swings too far to the downside again.
I would like to, before I go and defend David Yu, as I often do, I would like to say I had I don't want to say a crash out, and I don't even know if it was this morning or last night, or I streamed like 2 times a day now. But I was like, I know that first they're probably focusing on the speed of the app, and they're probably focusing on, the events like, London and Lisbon and other stuff, and the mobile version of the VeVeverse. That was supposed to be out in April. Supposedly beta will be next month. To a couple of people, I feel like this is going to be a VeVeverse thing where it probably won't come out for several months, but I feel like it probably wouldn't take too much effort to say, okay, there's a VeVe hat that you can purchase in the VeVeverse for $2 in OMI, and because it's their own IP, they could just burn it. It wouldn't cost them a lot for them to have that. The VeVeverse does need revenue right now; it doesn't make diddly squat, and I feel like, even if you said, okay, half of it's going to be burned, half of it's going to be this, you have stuff that's had a proven track record of success in every other mobile game with these microtransactions. And it's not something that you need to progress in the VeVeverse. It's just something that is just nice to have: a VeVe hat, a VeVe scarf, a rock, a squirrel that follows you around. It doesn't matter what it is. It's their own IP. They have the craziest creative freedom, and they're not using it. And again, maybe I'm crashing out now. However, that being said, David just had about 50 meetings in Las Vegas this past week. Some of the people that were there were Activision Blizzard, owned by Microsoft. They paid about $69 billion for it. I'll comment next time below with 69. David, I'm sure, had meetings with them. Bandai Namco, which has Pac-Man. 2 of the things that they have teased. They've teased Minecraft and they've teased Pac-Man that were at this Las Vegas event. Maybe this event was the last thing that they needed to dot the I's and cross the T's. And a whole host of other licenses over there. Maybe the new IP, which I would call out O'Malley for that, or I shouldn't call him out. Somebody had said that O'Malley said the new IP was announced last night and it was a new comic. They did announce a new comic last night. Guys, that's on it. I'm not even sure O'Malley said that. Somebody said that. Again, O'Malley, you deal with that on your own end. There is that is not the new IP that's being announced. The new IP that's being announced has still yet to be announced. David was at London this past couple of days, and then he has Lisbon to prepare for. Assuming he's still working at least 16-hour days, it doesn't leave a ton of time for him to go on to some. Now, granted, it might take 30 minutes. That's maybe all people would want. They might want their little, they might be satiated by that. and he probably has 30 minutes that he could give up sleep, he can give up whatever for, and he could do that. But I'm just saying, I understand that in the last week and a half, there's been a lot of things that he's been doing, while also trying to run a company, while also trying to do other stuff that maybe we're not seeing. So that's my reasons for maybe him not being on people's streams talking about the token. What's up, Doc?
I'm not asking him to be on streams talking about the token, but he is on his own company's streams, right? And he has Twitter and he's active there. And listen, again, this is coming from the person who, yeah, bro, it's not Lisbon. It's not.
How do you pronounce it?
Lisbon.
Is it Lisbon?
Lisbon.
I feel like European, they're always like so feminine. So wow.
So like, I mean, at least in Spanish it'd be like Lisbon, right?
Okay.
But not Lisbon. No. Like, it's just Lisbon. We're American. You can just say Lisbon. But anyways, I was funny. I was like, I gotta give him crap about that. I was like waiting. But again, this is coming from the person who for literally the last 4 years has been defending David Yu and VeVe about how they don't talk about the token. I said there's too much regulatory uncertainty. There's this pending lawsuit. There was a lot of reasons where I said logically, like, if I'm them, like, I would be saying, I don't think you should be talking about the token. I am now saying, I don't know why you're not talking about the token. I don't know why. I don't think that there's any legitimate reason. But he is the CEO of OMI. Like, we can't forget that, right? He is the CEO of VeVe. He's also the CEO of OMI, man, right? This is OMI is my homie for a reason. And like, I think David is phenomenal. He's spectacular. So I hope that people don't mistake my passion for like anger or anything like that. I get excitable for sure. But like, honestly, guys, like Randy, there's no reason he shouldn't be talking about this token, tweeting and saying, hey, like, we're really excited for you to introduce people to better understand the utility that we've built out. Because like Rain said, listen, they have done a lot on the back end to show that they are supporting OMI. Right? It's not like they haven't done anything, but it's time to be vocal about it, right? One of the reasons that I was like, I don't think they should be vocal is because the utility wasn't there. That was one of the big things. Then the other hurdle was that lawsuit where I was saying, I don't know in that lawsuit if there was NDAs or like what they were restricted on talking about, right? That's done. And my understanding is even Ben's ability to appeal the decision is over, and he didn't appeal it, right? Like, so like it's done. And so as much as I stood there for 4 years and defended the reason why they're not talking about it, I'm also going to be saying, listen, all of those reasons that I gave that I felt like were legitimate reasons are no longer there. And to sit there and have no effort towards talking about the token is very surprising and disappointing to me. So I'm looking forward to the conference, and maybe we'll start to see that, and maybe from there they'll launch more discussion about it. But I would be extremely disappointed. And this is more for like, do I think that OMI is going to do well, whether or not they talk about it? I think that it will, right? But it's also important, and there can be more traction when you have the CEO of the company, who, by the way, it's through the raises of OMI that helped fund this whole app. So please, like, give some consideration to this token now that all of those roadblocks are out of the way, you know? And so that's my thing there. And I just want to address one question that that was up there. They said, clean currency, what's the purpose of the high circulating supply? One of the main reasons, there's a couple of things. Back in the day when they did the TGE for OMI, like, the supply of tokens was really high. All the token supplies, like, that was the thing. But on top of that, they had this burn buyback mechanism that they had initially created that was supposed to reduce that supply over time, right? But then regulation came into play, and they're like, if you're doing buybacks and burning this token, that's based on the efforts of others. Like, that's a clear security at the time, right? Like, and so like they had to stop that mechanism so they didn't get targeted by the SEC. But that's one of the main reasons. Those two things were two of the main reasons why there's such a high circulating supply.
I want to talk about the high circulating supply. A lot of people see that as a bad thing. I see it as an amazingly good thing. And here's the reason. Low supplies equals high price per token. And there's this weirdest thing that happens. So I remember in 2020, there was this real estate guy that I'd known for a long time, and he was getting into crypto. And he understood real estate really well. And real estate investing, he'd been doing it for 30 years. And he had been doing stock investing for 15 years. And he gets into crypto, and he's like, what token should I buy? And so I told him which ones I was interested, and he bought none of those. He bought this other one because he was so excited he was getting it for under a penny. Why does it matter if you're getting it for under a penny? You're forgetting the second part of that equation. What is the circulating supply? So it was under a penny, but it had a really high circulating supply, but all he could see was the price per token. So when you have a low circulating supply, you have a higher price per token. It seems more expensive to people when they're new. And guess what? I explained this to him. A month later, he bought some other random token. Do you know why he bought that other random token? Because it was under a penny. I'm like, what are you not getting about this? That doesn't matter. You have to take the price per token times the number of tokens to figure out what the market cap is. And the market cap is everything. He still didn't get it. So it's like kicking a cactus, expecting it not to hurt. So a lot of projects make this huge mistake of having a low circulating supply. And at first, it doesn't hurt them that much because the price is a penny per token. And then they have a little bit of success. And all of a sudden, their token price is $1. And so people like my friend, when they're new, would never touch that token because it's $1 per token, even if it was the most amazing buy, because the market cap was massively undervalued. All he's going to see is $1 per token. Why do you think Shiba Inu has such a huge supply, and yet it still does well? People have this misconception: if you have a huge circulating supply, it takes too much for your token to pump, and it doesn't. It doesn't. The big circulating supply is a great thing, and theirs is right close to like the perfect amount. Because what's funny is Shiba Inu, people would come in, they'd be like, I just bought 1 million tokens for under $100. This is the best thing ever. So they were just thinking, I got a million or millions for $100. This is amazing. They don't know about the circulating supply. Shiba Inu is still pumped tremendously, despite there being such a huge circulating supply. And so their number for that is great. You know, the people that are concerned about it are really just concerned about token price hasn't gone up in 3 years. So then they're looking for reasons it hasn't gone up. And that's one that they list off, and they're just incorrect on that. That's not the reason. And reducing that circulating supply, or doing like a burn where they like give everyone 1 token for 10 that they have, would create a problem down the road where the market cap will never hit as high as it would have if they didn't do something like that. So keep the circulating supply as exactly as it is. Don't mess with it. OMI is still going to do really well in the coming bull run, and much better than if the circulating supply was much smaller.
Preach. There are ways that I think I know it's okay, and I guess popular to say, hey, there's a reason to wait for marketing because so many people that have done X amount of dollars of marketing are gone now. They're not here anymore. So it makes sense to say that, but also nobody's really trading the token. Like, we got delisted off of BitGet because of the fact that there was no trades, and now there's a little bit of FUD and a little bit of misinformation about this, but there are not a lot of people trading OMI on MEXC. So even though it's still going to be available to be traded normally on MEXC, they're eliminating the perpetuals futures. And as they're doing that, obviously you have the FUDers that be like, see, they're being delisted. And granted, you're not going to be able to do that certain thing. A lot of those people are liars. A lot of those people now maybe not all of them are liars. Maybe some of them happen to have just read a title of it, and the title is just one thing. But we had a couple of people coming in here yesterday saying, or even this morning, saying OMI's being delisted, and just wanted to correct that. But think that does show a symptom of another underlying problem, is that there's just no demand for the token. Like, I don't want people, like, everyone wants everyone on Coinbase and Binance. Binance would be horrendous because Binance typically wants about 10% supply. That is more than the entire business development wallet. So I think that would be a net negative. Coinbase, I agree. I think they should be on at some point, but if you waste it on a listing now, when there's no demand for the token, then it's probably not going to be a net positive. What do you think the MEXC delisting OMI for perpetual futures means for the token in general? What does it mean for sentiment? Your thoughts?
Listen, perps, like, there's only a subset of people who even understand perpetual futures and like what to play in that space. So like, I'm not surprised, and it doesn't worry me at all. Like, there's a lot of tokens out there that don't have perpetual futures, like to be traded and played on and stuff. So it's not a big deal. But you're right, like that the token is not getting a lot of action, which is why I'm saying I think it's important for them to start bringing up the token more and to start getting more visibility about the token and what it does, right? And hopefully Stacker is going to do some of that, right, with advertising some of that, because they're incentivized and they make money off of sales and things in OMI, or they can, right? And so, but yeah, like, you need more visibility. Like, if people don't know that the token's out there or what it's about, then you're not going to get a lot of buying action. What's the point of it, you know? And so, I mean, that's where I'm surprised a little bit that I'm not seeing more talk about it, but we'll see what happens. I would say that I'm never the voice of reason, Wes. I just listen. I just say whatever I like what I think, and sometimes people agree and sometimes they don't, and that's fine. But like, I just think that. Oh, and one of the things, Wes, you said that like there's no more excuse with the like the lawsuit or whatever it was. It was never an excuse. It was a legitimate reason. I think there's a difference between an excuse and a reason, right? And I'm saying that I think that they've run out of reasons to not talk about the token anymore, legitimate reasons not to talk about the token anymore. And so I hope that they start doing that. But we're going to continue to see that, like, to a certain extent. And I guess what I'm saying with this is the more visibility that they can start creating now, then when there is hype, when there's this run, it's already out there and some people already know it. So when they're asking about like, hey, what tokens are tied to the metaverse or to NFTs or anything like that, right? Like, people are like, oh, OMI already is. And we've had some amazing communities, like, I mean, community members like the Arcturus, who's gone out there and made sure that CoinMarketCap is showing and CoinGecko is showing that OMI is a metaverse token, right? That it's tied to this type of stuff, which is very, very helpful there. But like, legitimately, why isn't the team doing that? Like, why didn't the team do that? And this is where I'm starting to say, okay, guys, like, I can understand for a long time, I could see legitimate reasons why you guys had to shy away from that. And listen, I love Foster Hilt, and I hope that he comes to, like, to this conference, because I want to talk to him about that and definitely put a little bit of pressure and saying like, hey, like you guys should be talking about this token, man. You should be tweeting a lot more about this token here. Use your visibility to start talking about this. And if not, I would love to hear a reason why, because for the longest time, I felt like there are legitimate reasons, and I can't see any anymore.
I think the very best way that they start talking about the token more is there's this podcast called OMI is My Homie, and David, you should come on once a month. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Come on the podcast. Yeah. Like, listen, we are the single, what other listen, I know that Randy, like, you'll talk about the token, but is there truly even another podcast out there that even talks about OMI? Like, we've been doing this for over a year. I am a little bit surprised. Now, Foster, shout out to Foster. He's been on the show. He's been on the show multiple times. And so I can understand that, again, like, leading up to this, like, I think that it was very smart of David, and he might have even been legally required not to be able to come on and talk about it. When he was on, when Rain and I did an interview with him back, man, when was that, Rain? Like, that wasn't last year. Was it 2 years ago? Like a year and a half ago?
Like a year and a half ago.
October of 2023.
When Jordan still liked OMI.
Yeah. October of 2023. But like, Rain and I interviewed him, and I asked him one question about OMI, and it was great. And he answered that one question, right? But like, David, if you're listening to this, I would love it. Or someone on the team, I would love it if we could start having you on the podcast regularly, right? Like, let's start doing this and reward the community who's been talking about this token while you guys couldn't, right? Like, we would love that. We'd love to have you on the channel and to ask you these questions and then go from there, right? Then, because once you start doing that on our channel, then you can start getting more visibility and talking about that token. And if you're not doing that, the community, we would love to know why, especially those who are very ingrained in all of this stuff within the US, at least with regulation and crypto, within the finance industry, all of that stuff. Be very interested to know why, if you don't start doing that, like what the reason is. There's got to be a good reason.
It would be awesome for them to reward those that during peak FUD window, a year and a half to today, towards the OMI token. I like to think of it in crypto as like a burning building, right? And everyone's fleeing. Oh my gosh, the building's burning. And I'm never scared if I feel like the company's a strong company to run into burning buildings. That's what made me rich in 2021. So I'm like, I think OMI's an amazing buy, but let's make a really controversial stand. Let's call it OMI is my homie, when everyone is running out of the burning building, because I think OMI is massively undervalued here. And so we took a controversial stand that a lot of people hated on. It's like, OMI's dead. OMI's this. They're going to see OMI's going to go quite fine. Then everyone will be like, yeah, there's this show, OMI is my homie, and they're so cool. And they'll forget how bad the sentiment was last year and a half, because it will flip around. And wouldn't be terrible of VeVe to reward those that like took a stand and said, you know, F the sentiment. OMI's undervalued, and it's awesome.
I mean, listen, let's see. I can never do this right. There we go. Listen, a community member made this. Where's the official Ecomi lamps, Foster, for the Ecomi, influencers? Because all those YouTubers, like, and Rain never got one. Like, it's funny, Rain. Like, I know that you're not in in one of these Telegram chats for the gold and silver logo, but listen, shout out to OBL. OBL got a VeVe gold and silver logo card, and it was awesome, and it was well deserved. She would hold all these Chat and Tuesday spaces. She really did a lot to bring the community, and she's
awesome.
Oh, she is, dude. She's her vibes. Everyone loves OBL. Fudders and Moonboy alike. They all love her, right? And rightfully so. She's amazing. She got one at this London event and things. And again, I applauded that. And so then some people were in the chat and they're like, oh, well, I think this person should get it. This person should get it. And I was like, listen, if Rain doesn't get one of these freaking logos, it's unreal. I'm like, he's tied for the second YouTuber ever. So on the same day, there was another YouTuber when you did your first video about VeVe and OMI, right? And there's one other person. Neither of those other two YouTubers are even in the picture anymore, right? They stopped talking about it years ago. You have been consistent about talking about VeVe and OMI for 4 years. And not only that, but I know at least five of the top, actually these 5, they're in the top 250 wallets holding VeVe collectibles on the app, right? That you brought in. And I'm sure that there's more. Right. So that means that the people that you brought in are still here. So, again, if the VeVe team is looking, and I know, but man, I am extremely saddened that effort and things have not been recognized, especially when I've seen some of the other people who have gotten them for doing an interview, a single interview. I'm like, man, that's a bummer. But again, obviously it's theirs to do with what they please. But where I'm going with all of this is there's one of the biggest things that VeVe talks about is the community. And it's one of the most powerful things that they have. And I think that it's important that they recognize the people who have been here through all of the FUD and stuck through and been those voices of reason. Randy's one of them, right? Randy has kept so much of this stuff. So I love, listen, Randy has a connection where he gets to talk to David Yu all the time, right? Or often, right? He's got that connection, and that's been some of the reward for all of the effort and the stuff that he's put into it. But you have also done a lot, Rain. So that's my thing. I mean, listen, I own 2 of these things, right? That I've just had to buy off the market because I see the value there. But it would mean a lot for me if Rain got a gold and silver logo, one of those cards. So
I appreciate
anyways,
that, Doc.
that's I'll get off my soapbox, man. But like I get a little bit animated. It's tough to see so much hard work not recognized and all these other people because unfortunately what it comes across as is that there's this club. There's somehow a cool kids club that gets it, regardless of the work that they've done. As long as they've done some work and then they're cool, they get this. And I guess I don't know what the coolness requires to be in that club, but that's disappointing, right? Like that's not how you reward community members. It's who's putting in the work, who's doing all these things. And you do that because it incentivizes people. That's inconsistent rewards. It's like, listen, we're going to reward when they send out those VeVe lamps and stuff to those YouTubers. Are you kidding me? Everyone was like, that's amazing. I'm so jealous. And then all of a sudden more and more YouTubers popped up, right? Just because of that. So I'm just saying, Foster, if you're listening, right? Like Ecomi lamps and Ecomi shirts. I don't know. Just going to throw all that out there. All right.
If they send Ecomi lamps to everyone who is consistently covering OMI now, there would be 3 of them sent out. Each of us would get one. But what's funny is that would encourage it because like OMI, what's so funny is recency bias is a real thing. I talk a lot about this when I'm trying to help people to understand to buy low and sell high. But most people can't do that because of recency bias. Like, oh my gosh, OMI's done nothing but go down. So they can't imagine that OMI's going to turn around until after OMI does a 10 or 15 or 20x from here. And then they're going to buy it. And they're going to just do so much worse than they otherwise would have. And they might not even buy it till it's done a 50 or 100x. And at that point, it is sell time for all of those of us that have been buying at these prices and dollar cost averaging on the way down. That's an exit a whole lot at those prices. And yet they're buying in there. And, you know, a lot of people don't get that. You know, people were asking when the VeVe collectibles are going to go up. And the truth is, I don't know when that answer is. Well, I'm looking at the Bitcoin price because that goes crazy. And then it cascades into larger cap altcoins, and then it cascades into the rest of the market. So sometime soon, probably in the next 6 to 9 months, maybe in the next 3 months. What is crazy when it has a blow off top, the blow off top happens over usually about a 2 to 3 month period. All the action happens. So it could literally be 3 months from now and OMI's 100, 150x, 200x from where the price is now. And all those people are just kind of sitting on the sidelines, thought they would buy OMI later. They missed it. They missed all the fun.
Somebody had a good, but definitely agree that if there was a short list, I'm looking for the comment here. If there's the short list, Rain should definitely be on there. And as far as the logos, the Ecomi ones, if it were to make them or do t-shirts or whatever, I think that's something that would not cost a lot of money. And the benefits that you would see, like, hey, the first, you know, and even if we don't get it, even if there's something where you make a 3-minute video of why you invest in Ecomi, or not even why you invest, why you like the OMI token, why you like the Ecomi company, and you know the top 10 videos or top 5 get a lamp or they get something. And even if, let's say, the 3 of us are not creative enough to make the top 5 list, I don't care. Like, if there's 5 other people that make incredible videos on why they like Ecomi and why maybe some people should invest in them or why they're investing themselves, then that just means more eyes on the token and more. And I don't care. There could be 10 other people to do it, and I'll get one. That's fine. But yeah, I think even if Foster said like, hey, we're going to do 10 of these, you guys are obviously going to get the first 3. And again, I don't think that's something that's going to cost a whole lot. That's going to just get a lot of people to make. Now, are those people going to make like a couple of videos, wait to see if they get one and then stop? Probably, but you can't erase that content. I guess they could take that content down, but the fact that content still happens, people can mirror those videos. They can download the videos.
They can do a competition where basically they own the rights of the video that you make if you enter into the contest, right? So that they get to keep that. I mean, that's how you'd structure it, right? And I'm just going to bring up this point. Listen, like, so I just recently saw in London where David rewarded, you know, like a level 100 collector, right? And they get this whole plaque, and it's an awesome thing, right? Because thank goodness for Sanjay, who's kind of pointed out and said, like, listen, there are people, there are people that have put a lot of money into this app, and we need to recognize them. That's great. Who brought those people in? Who brought those people in? Like there are tiers, right? Like, and I think that that's important to realize is it's like, even if some of the YouTubers out there aren't master collectors, how many people did they bring in who are master collectors? This is where I'm saying, like, the power of the community and the people who are constantly putting out. Listen, I love Omili Tees. I love Omili. I think he's phenomenal. And that guy busts his butt on Twitter Spaces and stuff. And you're starting to see that they're partnering with him. He's hosting all these spaces, or he's doing these things where he's doing giveaways, right? And I think that that's phenomenal. They're rewarding that effort, right? Because they get it there. So I guess I'm still just I'm a little bit surprised. I'm a little bit surprised that, like, Ecomi hasn't reached out to us. And listen, I'm going to talk to Foster, and I'm going to say, listen, why isn't Ecomi starting to sponsor videos or to do these things on the Ecomi side? But, like, why hasn't VeVe reached out to us? I can understand if they were like, we're the collectibles company and we don't necessarily want to be tied to the token. I feel like that should be over, especially if the OMI utility is to purchase VeVe collectibles. Right. Now, again, these are just my thoughts, and obviously a company can do whatever. But when I'm sitting there saying, like, there's a reason why all the large majority of the YouTubers that got VeVe lamps are gone. Right. Because I think that to a certain extent, after they got those VeVe lamps, like, they didn't get any more recognition. I look at Cryptoids, I look at all of these other projects, right? And they reached out to all these content creators because they were like, these are the people who are going to bring more people in. These are the value adds, and we can keep these people going and motivated for very little marketing dollars. For very little marketing dollars. The VeVe lamp and the t-shirts did not cost that much money. And how many people were brought in by that, right? So, I mean, this is one of the things when you're talking about marketing, and I love the VeVe affiliate program where people can sign up and they're saying, hey, I'm rewarded for the people that I bring in. Mm-hmm. And you can start to show that's set up. And so I do think that there's that reward that's there now, and you can sign up. I'm an affiliate. I haven't put any videos on for quite some time. And life's crazy, and that's just where it's at right now. But I definitely want to in the future. But even still on the Ecomi side, when I go to Lisbon, I'm definitely going to be saying, hey, what's going on here? How can we continue to add value? I feel like we've been adding quite a bit of value here. Like, what else can we do, right? Like, how do we get into your guys' line of sight here where you start to see, like, the value that we believe we're creating for you guys?
Yeah, imagine if they backdated that affiliate program. Holy cow, from back to 2021. Not that they track it, right? But that would be amazing. Just and pay me an OMI. I'll take it in OMI.
Like, I mean, dude, like, honestly, like, I think my wallet's in between the top 200 and 300, like, on the app, right? And you brought me in, and then through me, I brought in someone who's in the top one in between the top 1 to 200 wallets, right? But that's all through you, like that waterfall of, like, and then it was VeVe Viral. VeVe Viral said that you brought him, like, he was introduced to VeVe through you, right? Like, he's in the top 500, and there's other people there too. So anyways, yeah, I'm just saying, I think that it's sad, and where this VeVe affiliate program is great. But also, I think that there are little small things that they can do for the content creators. And listen, there's so many of them. VeVe Magic, like, she's been stalwart, dude. Like, I love VeVe Magic. And listen, she has had some rewards, right? She's when there's things, like, she'll go and she gets to work the booth. Like, she's in the inner circle. She has direct line to Dan and David, or at least to David, right? Like, so there has been some benefits to that. And look at my collectibles, like, he got rewarded, now he works for the team, Foster Hill. So there's been some of that recognition there. Like, that's great. And I guess what I'm saying is, like, for those stalwarts there, like, continue to at least recognize it. And even if you don't recognize us, or at least me, right? I'll speak for myself. Even if you don't recognize me, honestly, there's a lot of other content creators out there. You got The Biggest Bro who's out there. There's D and Inano that are out there putting a lot of content together, right? Like Collector's gone digital, and some of them have gotten some things right from VeVe. Like it's great, right? But on the OMI side, I guess because we're the only ones doing it, I'm surprised that nothing's happened there.
Well, there's another principle in
metaverse
psychology that like psychology helps you understand human behavior, but what gets rewarded gets continued. And so, like, will I continue to cover OMI either way? Probably, because I feel like the value is there, and I'm doing it selfishly for my audience. I think it's amazing for my audience because my goal is to have the most successful per capita audience in crypto. So it makes sense to cover OMI. It makes sense to cover VeVe selfishly, even if they don't pay me, even if they don't recognize the value that I've added to them over the past 4 years. Disappointing. I have to say I'm disappointed in that. But I'm not doing it directly for them. I'm doing it for my audience because I want my audience to do super well. And I think VeVe's created something that's really, really cool. And that OMI is massively undervalued. But they will lose a lot of other people. They just will, because what gets rewarded gets continued, and what never gets rewarded does not get continued. And so today, you know, they're like, well, we haven't had to do anything, and we have all these people covering us, so why do anything? Especially when times get lean like this, I think they would have far more of their people that would have stayed if they would have rewarded them some way. And that hasn't helped them not being more involved. Like in my personal thoughts on like David Yu, like the truth is David Yu is out signing all these deals. I don't think he's very in touch with who's covering and who's doing what on the crypto space and the influencer space. I think he really just doesn't know. And so like, sure, I don't think he knows that like my stuff was some of the first. I don't think he even knows who's who in the crypto, like the community, because he's out doing this stuff. Ben Rose, who was a huge crypto background, he comes in, he recognized like right away, like what's what.
He was on our stream multiple times.
What goes on there, right? And I think there's a reason why he was tuning into every one of our podcasts. He's like, wow, these guys add serious value and great informed discussions on this. Holy cow. Well, darn it, he's no longer there. But you know, David, keep going out and doing what you're doing. But I think VeVe would benefit tremendously from going in and seeing who's adding massive value and rewarding those people, especially the small creators that are getting, like O'Malley. I like that they're rewarding that, right? And I wish they would do a little bit more of that, because like, would they have lost some of these people that they've lost over the past year and a half if they had little rewards along the way? They probably wouldn't have. I'm here because this is a savage deal for my investors, for my audience, or at least I think it is. And I've loaded up on OMI. And unfortunately for me, I'm not a master collector because OMI has been more underpriced than VeVe. But I put hundreds of thousands of dollars into OMI. And in the app, I've probably put like, 80,000. So anymore, that's no longer a master collector.
So like I said, I'm in the top, in between the 200 and 300 the top wallets, and I'm not a master collector. Like it's pretty wild. Like I've got my 10 million OMI staked, and I've got a lot of sets. I mean, but it'll jump back up there. I'm right on the cusp. I believe that around 5,000 MCP points a day will get you master collector. And so like I bounce back and forth between that depending on the day and if I've snagged some things. But yeah, like anyways, we can get off the subject, but like I'm definitely going to be talking and kind of putting the pressure on Foster a little bit and just giving him a hard time and being like, hey man, you know, like this is now OMI's time to start shining a little bit and to start getting more in the spotlight. Because I do believe that through the OMI token, you're going to get a lot of VeVe users, just like you did last time. And so at some point, you need to turn the spigot on, and part of that would be to start saying, hey, who are the people who've been supporting this token? So when Randy goes native, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. It could go to 0, and it's not going to happen.
Alfred's a cool dude. He's early supporter back in the day. I want to just address this though. It says David Yu doesn't trust Randy. Randy's never gone negative. And so then David Dan won't recognize him. I do agree that every now and then the squeaky wheel does get the grease.
Mm-hmm.
My involvement with VeVe started really more selfishly. I saw an incredible opportunity that I saw that at some point VeVe might be one of those $1 trillion companies one day. I knew that would take a decade or two. But even if they didn't hit that and they became a $100 billion company, which might be a decade away, but I see them as the future. I was not wrong, and I backed the right horse. Every other VeVe killer out there is gone. They're 6 feet under. Some rugged, some didn't. They just had bad business practice. The allocation of assets and capital was horrendous for David and Dan. That was not an issue. And David and Dan have still yet to raise money. There was some FUD going on in one of the group chats today saying like, hey, and I don't want to go too much into it, but they're just saying like, you know, they clearly couldn't keep top talent, talking about Ben and Mitch, and just because ways have parted between people doesn't mean that they couldn't keep them. Maybe they just chose to do other things elsewhere. And again, even if capital was an issue, they could raise millions of dollars in the blink of an eye. And again, they haven't yet. That either suggests or confirms that they don't need money, or they don't see a reason to raise it at this point. That being said, when I interviewed Vicente the other day, I happened to ask him like, hey, you know, like, are you in like a group chat with like the other community managers? You know, how often do you have meetings with the VeVe and the OMI team, and how many how many people have you met from the marketing team? And he's like, I've only met 2. So either there's at least 2 people working on VeVe's marketing, or there are more than that on VeVe's marketing team. And I'm really curious about a lot of the stuff that they've done and the decisions they've made, because there's stuff that goes out on, like, if you go and take a look on their TikTok, VeVe has, and this is one of the things that I really try to get people to take a look at, because there, as of right now, nobody really does. If you go on the VeVe official account, so there's a video there, 3 likes, 1 comment, and I am the only comment. What's the next video? Okay, there's 9 likes, there's 3 comments, and I am one of the 3 comments. Next video is 15 likes, 1 comment, and I am the only comment. I understand the reasoning of like, hey, I want to ask the marketing team as much as anyone, what are the major issues that you're finding with marketing? What are the solutions, and why aren't they done yet? But I feel like a lot of people should also ask, hey, not what VeVe and OMI can do for me, what can I do for VeVe and OMI? And it starts with working for your bags. It starts with, it takes 6 seconds. You don't even have to watch the video. It takes 6 seconds to click the notification, hit the like button, and comment wow or fire. And that's it. And a couple of people, at least on the TikTok. Instagram, I see a little bit more. Twitter, I obviously see a lot. But again, when going back to the selfish part, I saw that this was a way to go in and be part of a company that is in a disruptive industry. It's innovative, it's vertically integrated, and I saw that as a way to ride on their coattails and rocket up to the moon. I have several sponsors of the channel. The channel now is worth $250,000. I just had a recent investor, and we did ink a deal to raise 5% at a $250,000 valuation, and that would not have happened without VeVe. Granted, VeVe has never been one of the sponsors. OMI has never been one of the sponsors. Dave has never been one of the sponsors. I've never gotten a penny from that. Outside of the OMI, the VeVe gold and silver logo, that's worth $3,200 right now, and it's number 41, which they didn't give me that like on purpose. It just happened. So add a multiple to that. But I would say that David Yu does trust me quite a lot. I've helped him with a couple of things, hopefully some of which will come to light one day, some of which will never come to light. One of those things is the initiative on the VeVe comics. And I've inked deals with Crappy Bird, Chaos on the Chains, Sharby. Was the other ones was Space Penguins and Ladies on Soul, and all of their communities will be going onto VeVe. They'll all be making VeVe accounts, and they will all be putting money onto VeVe to buy those said comics. So he trusted me with that. Shout out to Alfred Montanaro. Thank you. So yeah, that's just a little bit on that, and I feel like I've taken this a little too far here on the soapbox. So let's get to David T's at London, interacted, speculations. All right, CSGO skins recently have reached a $5 billion valuation. And that is inside of a closed ecosystem, the same as VeVe's walled garden. And I see a lot of people say that VeVe Collectibles would be so great if they could just have that Web3 interoperability, if they could do X, Y, and Z. Where we've had other companies before that have given all of that, and they're either underwater, they're gone, or they're not doing so hot, shining the knobs on the Titanic. Clearly, CSGO with that walled garden, again, those skins valuing $5 billion, quite a lot. I don't see why VeVe can't do some of the same thing. That doesn't mean that I don't want that interoperability as well. Not that I would use it, not that I would need it, but just because I know that's something that pure Web3ists want. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
The true value of the CSGO skins is this idea of ownership of your items and within the game, right? And they were one of the first main AAA level video games with a huge audience to really introduce that. And even though it's in the Steam marketplace, you realize there's 15% tax when you sell your stuff, 15%. So if you get one of those super rare items and you can't even earn them in the game, you have to buy them through specific loot chests that you have to buy. But some of those items go for 100,000. But you realize with a 15% tax, you sell it at 100,000, you're getting 85,000. So there's this massive transaction tax, and still these things are doing tremendous. And you don't own the items, because if they shut down your Counter-Strike account, you're screwed. So, and I don't think you can even off-ramp that money from CSGO. So interesting that even with all those problems, these things are going for hundreds of thousands, like some things 10,000, some things hundreds of thousands within that ecosystem. And what it is people are craving this idea of ownership within video games. I think this is why blockchain gaming goes way more massive than anyone's thinking about. I think people then start thinking about digital collectibles massively. And I think VeVe is well positioned to be the number one player as digital collectibles go massive. That's why I'm so invested in OMI and somewhat in VeVe, though I have way, way, way more in OMI because the value I think is swung too far to the downside. And so as I've been putting money in, it's just like collectibles were way down. I think OMI was way, way, way down. And I just like buying as cheap as possible. It seemed like OMI was more undervalued than collectibles. So we'll see if I'm right on that. But I think Counter-Strike Go shows that there's this huge appetite for ownership. And that if you give them even more ownership, like a lot of people who play video games, Counter-Strike Go, it's like gave them enough ownership without making them think about it too much that it was easy to digest. I think in the future, as Bitcoin goes crazy and they're all thinking about ownership, that some of these other video games that give them even more ownership with a smaller transaction tax and the ability to extract that value. I think most of the world does not understand what's coming for blockchain gaming and then by extension, digital collectibles.
Sorry, I had to laugh at Abe's comment about my 6 out of 10 car wheels.
Oh.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, sorry, I'm late. I was having beers with Elizabeth Warren," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you're so high profile." And I was like, "Did she give you any insider trading tips?" And he was like, "No, we talked about your six out of 10 cartwheels." Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So and listen, sorry, I want to shout out like Aaron, Kaki Gaijin, right? Jimbo Lee Lingo. I don't know if you knew this, Randy, and maybe like. The Jimbo, it's several years ago, but he made these VeVe, kind of like those VeVe lamps, right? But yeah. I mean, this artist was so amazing. I wasn't making any content really at the time, or no, actually I was, but I don't think that I was high profile enough. I always saw those and just like respected his artistic skills. And that was so cool of him to take the time to do that. And he jumps on and calls us, hello master. Like, it's just such a cool guy. And I love those glasses, man. So I had to shout out him. And then obviously Sanjay, we already talked about Sanjay a little bit, like what a rock star he is in the community. And he takes so much crap. I hate this, man. Like the racist crap that he takes, and like all this guy does is try to add value, right? And share his opinion. And Sanjay, thank you so much for all that you do for this community. What an incredible, incredible individual he is. If you guys don't know Sanjay, you got to follow him. You got to like just an incredibly intelligent individual, so fun and so giving. All the love to you, Sanjay, man. You're awesome.
Yeah, he's my best. I love him. But
what's up, Mrs. Rain?
How are you?
Girl?
She popped in and brought me dinner, and you know the deal. I was like, anytime she interrupts me, then I get to grab her and bring her on screen.
There's like grab her and suplex her, and then just lift her over you.
No, that happens in bedroom at the night and in the morning. She's getting all embarrassed.
I'm like, maybe.
She's like, I will neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, it's top secret.
Of course. Anyway. We
were talking about VeVe digital collectibles and how video games are going to go crazy and collectibles going crazy, and people are going to have cute little digital collectibles. What do you think about digital collectibles?
I have some.
Yeah. Do you remember what you have?
Nope. I just someday I'm going to sell them and I'm going to make money. That's all I know.
that should be more reason to buy more.
My knowledge.
She has a bunch of DeLoreans, I think some Star Trek stuff, and like a bunch of other stuff. And she obviously logs into her account all the time.
I have 2 accounts.
She does.
We used to sit with like 3 iPads.
Do you remember the day? Yeah, you'd have your phone and your iPad. I'd have my phone and my iPad, and she'd have her phone and iPad trying to get the drops. Yeah, we still have arthritis in our fingers from it.
I'm always reminded of that one scene from SpongeBob where he's like, it's all about finger strength, baby. And then he flexes his fingers and they look pretty.
The best part for me was always when I would get like the really good one and he didn't. I was like,
love that.
I'm a little competitive.
Yeah. And she usually had better luck than me. The algorithm just rewarded her like, pretty girl privilege. Like, how does it know? It shouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like you have not ever been lucky on drops. It was funny because there was someone in the community a while back that was like, all of the influencers are getting all of these big drops and stuff like that. And I was like,
dude, the algorithm.
Rain, and they named you Rain. And I was like, listen, I promise you, Rain is not getting any. I was like, I haven't
gotten a secret rare on a comic drop in like a year and a half. I got one very valuable secret rare. It was one of the early ones that they did a very limited drop on, and I got the secret rare and a good mint number on it. And I used up all my luck for eternity on that one drop. So since then, my luck's been terrible. And that was like in the early 3 months that they were doing comic drops. So
yeah. I remember, man, because it would be like I would go and like with Rain, like we'd be there together doing these drops. Oh, hey.
So Tammy's at the World Series of Poker right now, and they took a picture of like the tables. And then so she happens to have like I'm a VeVe addict shirt on.
Oh,
that thought that was cool.
That is epic.
Okay.
But like
you gotta say sayonara.
Bye, Russell.
Right, peace out.
Too, I guess.
But it was funny because we do these drops, and like I would land something pretty good, and like there would be several people on the drops and be like, hey, how did you do, Ray? And he's like, I didn't even get it. Like we got like multiples, right? And he's like, I didn't even get one.
Like everyone came over to my office at the time because I had like really, really high speed connection so that we could do the Walt and Mickey drop, right? The golden statue drop and the partner statue. And like everyone got one but me. I did get the green truck. But it was that error that like I didn't actually get one, even though I got the green truck. And I'm like, dang.
No.
Again.
Yeah. Listen, we're OGs, man. We've gone through a lot. Like, I mean, the app not functioning, the drops freezing. One of my best friends, he got the mint number 86 secret rare Spider-Man, and then it changed to the mint number 982.
Oh,
that I don't know if you remember that on the drop,
I
but there was like
don't.
a
That's
mix up.
horrible.
Yeah, because I was tripping out. I'm like, you got mint 82. That's insane. I was like tripping out for him. It was the first drop that he had gone for. And he was really apprehensive, right? Because it was $400. And I'm like, you got mint 82. And he's all super hyped and everything. And then he got it delivered and it was like 900 and something. And I was like, I'm so sorry, man. So listen, VeVe, there's always things that VeVe can improve upon. And listen, to a certain extent, some of the app issues, like I can understand why people kind of bash him a little bit. Like, I mean, we I love this new thing with like the MCP points and like the top posters and everything. But now my feed is full of like no pictured posts that I have no idea who they are. Like it's not populating and stuff. So there's always going to be improvements there. But like overall, I've loved this app and I've loved this community and I love the collecting. Like I said, like I still with my kids will do these collectibles and keep them entertained for literally hours, having like Hulk smash them or Iron Man shooting them with his like laser and then videoing them like falling down, like it's great. And so, I mean, there's a lot to look back on and reminisce though, like those app days of just like, tried your hardest, you're like, tried to do it as fast. And then you see people with like the little massage gun and their fingers like you can't even see their finger moving. It's moving so fast.
You have the massage gun on top of or something.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's next level thinking. I wish I would have been doing that, but then they were like, hey, if it's not manual operation, like we can sense that and we're going to ban your app, ban. And it was like, there's so many funny things just like to look back on.
I know the good old days.
Yeah.
There's for anyone that played Skateboard Scamper, which was a mini game on the original Mario Party, you had to mash A as fast as you can go. And there were a bunch of us that were blessed with the tism that could go, and we actually triggered the you're using a bot because we were hitting it that fast. And so yeah, we had to. There's like speed apps where you go 3, 2, 1, and then just try to time it. So I had to try to time it. I remember a buddy of mine is co-owner of Sullivan and Galeshaw. It's a law office. At 11 o'clock every morning, everyone would stop whatever they were doing, and they would go. They would do whatever. Like, okay, time for the drop. Entire law office. I thought that was one of the greatest things ever. And I feel like we need those things back. We need the hype back. And that NFT, I know it's close. Raoul Paul talks about it all the time. I spoke about Gary Vee like 2 weeks ago, and it's close. And I say close. It could be 6 months away. I don't know, but it's not a thing that's like 2 years away. We have to wait for some type of marketing, whatever. When you see, like, we had so Cetus was hacked last week and it affected a lot of tokens on Sui. They got trashed. But again, like that, VeVe doesn't really have that because again, it's that kind of closed ecosystem. There are a lot of stuff that's going on. I don't know if there's going to be any announcements in Lisbon. How's it?
Lisbon.
Lisbon. Okay.
Yeah, Lisbon.
All right.
But I would hope so. I'd be extremely disappointed if honestly, so this is the first time that VeVe and Stacker are going to be together and the chance to talk about the OMI token, and there's no sort of announcement that's going on or some, like he said, like an OMI only drop. I would feel like it was a very big wasted opportunity. So I would say, listen, I believe that there is something. I believe that there is something. Like, I just don't think that they would miss this opportunity to take that. So, and I'm with you, Mr. MC1. I'm with you 100% there.
French, Canadian, United Kingdom, the haters. That's an interesting way to. Oh, I see what you did. Not French, Canadian, United. Okay.
I was like, what are you talking about?
So the Vicente did say that there would be an announcement in a couple of weeks. There would be a type of roadmap that'll come out for Stacker. I imagine that's going to be somehow intertwined with Comey. So I don't know if that'll, because, you know, Lisbon is next week. You know, it's a little soon for 2 weeks from now, but we shall see. We shall see. In other news, Comics and Crypto has a bunch of bounties, and a lot of them do get accepted, the ones that get minted, but they had a couple that didn't. Like they had the 2019 Grogu, which somebody paid $20 for because that's how much it cost to mint, and they got offered 100x on their investment of $2019 and got rejected, as did something else. I think it was one of the Stormtrooper helmets. I feel like, I know the guy I was interviewing this morning had said, like, yeah, for one of those at like the mint year, he said he would have rejected it as well. I was like, if he was the only one that were to say that, I'd be like, yeah, you say that now, but when $2,000 in your face. And I feel like some people forget that in this bear market where you had Being Real With You that paid, you know, $11,000 for a, you know, 1955 partner statue. Yeah, that seems big now, and it is to a lot of people. 5 figures is no joke. But that person that sold it got offered $500,000 3 years ago and turned it down. So sometimes high-hanging fruit becomes low-hanging fruit, and sometimes there is a lot of really, really crazy money in the space. And I feel like that's going to be a big culture shock to people that are first-time investors. It's like when I was in Pokemon. Oh yeah, when millionaires get into this hobby, it's going to, guys, millionaires were already, you know, 2019, 2018, there's already millionaires in this hobby. You're going to have a lot of crazy big money. Do you guys think we go back to all-time highs for that? Do you think there's either of these only going to be for certain mints? How big do you think it's going to get?
It'll be interesting to see the way it plays out. Certain things will exceed previous highs, and certain things won't. And so with the collectibles, it's a little bit harder to tell what's going to do exceptionally well because there's a lot more stuff out there. So we'll have tons of people coming in, and certain collectibles will go absolutely berserk. I think everything generally goes up by a lot, but certain things go up by a ton. And which are those certain things? I don't know. I bought a whole bunch of the Mandalorian comics, the commons, for like, people were selling to me for $1.25 a piece. And I was like, sweet. Okay. I don't know how you go wrong with that. Why? I think Grogu is going to be a big deal. So Mandalorian comic #1, probably a big deal. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. But I think certain things, like I have a bunch of Boba Fett's, a bunch of Darth Vaders. I think Boba Fett and Darth Vaders are usually good bets. But which of the collectibles will go crazy? We'll see. A lot of it's speculation. I think some of the comics that only have 1,000 mints that are new, that are untested, I think some of those, as people come in, go absolutely nuts. I'm just having a hard time with telling which ones it would be.
Aliens versus Avengers, baby.
Heck yeah.
I love that first comic book, man. Like, it's such a good read, and I just remember the ending, and I was like tripping out at how awesome that was.
Dude, that ending was so good. And the second one's okay, but the third one's really good too. And I cannot wait for the fourth one. I think it's August we have to wait. It's like, but there's another one that I read recently where it was good. Predator versus Spider-Man #1. The end, like just the last page, I was like, oh, it's and you might be able to guess, be like, but then like it's cool. It leaves it open-ended for like what's happening next, and I want more, and I can't wait. And again, it's good in general. You know, Predator comes into New York City, it's a heat wave, crazy stuff's happening. Like, okay, somebody dies in New York City, not really, but then all their stuff, it's good, it's great. Cannot say enough good things about it.
I'll have to read that one. It's Spider-Man versus
Predator versus Spider-Man #1.
Predator versus Spider-Man. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not like pumping the bags. I only got one, you know, like I'm not like stacking it.
Did it sell out?
I don't think so. Let me see because I think you can go and read the details.
Well, yeah, you can look. It'll tell you how many
listings. It doesn't say on the. Okay, maybe it'll say in the listings. You could just go on Stacker. But if I say view, no, fudge. It's where you have to like, you can't tell just from going to a comic that you own. You have to like search for it, which is so stupid. So if we do Predator, we'll do comics. Predator verse. Oh, they did Predator versus Black Panther too. So yeah, only 195, or I'm sorry, yeah, 195 had sold. So it's really not a lot. I don't know how much of them they'll burn or not. We're nearing around 2 hours. I know Doc has to go to the gymnastics. What do y'all have for the final thoughts or anything else we missed?
I'll just say this, like I think there was a video I did back in 2023, in the summer of 2023, July or August, where I laid out all of the things that were happening that were going to make Bitcoin go gangbuster, right? And at the time, I think Bitcoin was at like 50, 60K. I'd have to go back and look, right? I feel like there's quite a bit building up right now to say that like this is going to be a big deal. Like this crypto, this bull market is going to be a very big deal. I think that there's going to be money and liquidity like we haven't seen before. We're already seeing, and this is where I'm going with this. Like we've already seen several countries start to lower their interest rates because they're worried about the cracks in their economies, right? Just like on a global basis. In the United States, the Fed continues to maintain higher interest rates because they're worried. I mean, they're worried about how like the Trump tariffs and things are going to happen, but like at some point they're going to say like there's a lot of, listen, credit card debt in the United States is the highest level it's ever been in the history of credit card debt, right? Consumers are like, prices are getting too high. Like people are, and so they're having to put it on their cards, right? Because they can't afford certain things. And the tariffs are making it like at least short term worse, right? Where things are just costing more. And so they're putting it on credit, like they're taking loans out to live. At some point, they're going to look and say, we need to lower interest rates and we need to pump money into the economy. That's going to create liquidity. When you combine that with regulation that these institutions know like what they're getting into, and you like Bitcoin, and they're saying, okay, there's this limited supply of Bitcoin. I don't know, man. This is like, we're going to see some significant, I think that we're going to see some significant things happen. I think VeVe is poised to do very well because I do believe that NFTs are digital collectibles, like all of this stuff, especially when you have the head of the crypto task force saying that these type of NFTs are not securities. You're going to start institutions, right? Big players are going to start looking and saying, what are the big IPs? What are they doing? Are there NFTs now that I can collect as digital art? If they want to call it digital art or digital collectibles, whatever, there's going to be some serious money in there. That's my bet. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm really bullish, man, on the next 12 months. I think it's going to be an incredibly exciting time.
I think so too. Air Blues, be advised, we went over this a few times already. They're delisting from the perpetual futures contracts. You are still going to be able to trade on MEXC for forever. So
yeah, we covered it like 20, 30 minutes in.
Yeah. All right. Rain, final thoughts on?
Well, buy low, sell high. Prices are still low in OMI and a lot of the collectibles. And you're going to find out that that won't always be the case, that they will go quite high. And probably they'll go quite high, and then there'll be a correction and they'll come back down. But some of the things will never come back down to the prices that they're at now. That these kind of prices will be gone on many of these collectibles for forever. And whether you're ready to take advantage of this now or not, or really recognize it, look, you're going to learn this lesson one way or another. You're either going to learn it because you participated in it and you watched it happen, or you didn't participate in it and you watched it happen from the sidelines. Because I had a lot of friends that I was talking about crypto till like they didn't even want to talk to me anymore. 2018, 2019, 2020. And they're like, oh no, he's probably going to bring up crypto again. Probably should just stay away from him. And then 2021, they're like, crap. He was right. Okay. I'm going to take this serious. And so there'll be another wave of that. Some people are like, nah, we'll see how this goes. And you're right. You are going to see. And no, most of you that are here, you're believers, or you wouldn't be here. A few of you are here because you're haters. Funny that that's what you would do with your time. Cool. But VeVe's going to do amazing, and OMI's going to do amazing.
I forget that Latin saying, or saying the wicked are never happy. Yeah, if, like most of the tokens I talk about, OMI, DEVVE, DEFINITY, if you were to buy them in January, yeah, you'd be down by now. You would have lost X amount of money if you would have bought. Thankfully, I don't tell you guys to buy.
Bought and sold.
Yes, if you were to buy it and then sell now and you lock in your losses, you are correct. You cherry pick data like that, you can find that all the time. I feel like if you take a look at someone's work over X amount of years or X amount of time, whether you're successful or unsuccessful, that will be told on a long enough timeline about for everyone. So let's see where everything happens at the end of the year. But individual NFTs doing well. Inspired collection Supermom went to 1 ETH overnight. That is wild. So yeah, maybe NFT stuff is getting ready. You have enough people talking about it. There's clearly a lot of money out there. There's clearly a lot more, like the M2 money supply is going crazy. Liquidity is going to go nuts. It's already getting freaking nuts. I feel like Batman. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And you're going to see some crazy stuff here. Anyway, guys, thank you all for joining. Thank you all for the super chats. Everyone comment, like, and subscribe. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Everyone say bye-bye. I love you guys.